folks. How's it going? Welcome to the next edition of Serverless CrAIc. We're all AI crazy.
Oh
How's it
yeah.
getting on? AI
No.
crazy?
Yep, yep. You're now speaking to AI Mike.
Yeah.
AI
This
Mike.
the singularity is coming, right?
Uh, Yeah, I feel like I'm strapped to it.
Big question is AI Mike grumpy or is AI Mike not grumpy?
AI Mike has no emotion. He's emotionless. Yes.
Motionless. Very good. So I figured we hit the clarity of purpose stuff in the North Star.
Yeah.
Um this is a really interesting topic. Um we talked a lot about the North Star framework and stuff. I think we probably stumbled across that maybe about 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
We're very keen to put it in the book around clarity of purpose. But I suppose the question is now in this world of crazy AI and building things in nanoseconds, is your North Star still important?
Oh yeah. I think this is even more important now than it has been in the past because the speed of decision making that is required now, if you don't have clarity on what your North Star is, what you're trying to achieve, how you're going to measure what you're trying to achieve, then you're just going to be building stuff for the crack because you have capacity to
Hmm.
build, right?
Even funny, and I agree. Obviously, a really trick question. Even I think both as a product manager and as a sort of developer or as a builder, you need to have crystal clarity on what you have to build. You even hear some engineers now saying, I know what I want, but I'm not sure if we'll say the model can do it. So I'll ask it to say, give me five different plans and I'll pick which one matches my expectations. You know what I mean? It's almost like I know exactly what I want, but I can't really explain it, you know? So I think that having a real strong opinion of what your outcome is it's more important than anything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the AI, the model will convince you, oh yeah, this is what you want. And you'd be like, okay.
Yeah, and I think this is where there maybe a little bit of an unfair advantage for people who have had experience of different systems and different ways of working that they can have a much more informed conversation with the AI to shape what their intent is or shape what their North Star could be or what those metrics could be. Because you know what they ask for, right? Instead of just being, hey, that looks good, ship it. So there's
Yeah.
a little bit of I think we have all benefited from a lot of our lessons learned over the years. We can ask the right questions of the AI to help shape here. Well, is
Hmm.
this a good input metric? Is this a good leading metric or a lagging metric? You're well informed enough to have those well-rounded conversations with AI to help shape a good North Star for whatever
Hmm.
you're building.
There's probably two pieces of the North Star framework that you could hit on. There's the leading and lagging metrics, which we'll hit on in a second. The first part is it's the what game are you playing? Know that question?
Yep.
And I always, anytime we did the North Star framework, and especially for the PM, you'd say, what game are we in? Like, what are we trying to do here? And if you have not even a mature, if your business knows what it's about, they'll have a very clear, this is what we want. I think this gets really difficult when you have a brand like you're a startup and you're not quite sure what to do. You
Mm.
know, if you don't know that's really problematic because you don't really know what to build and you don't really know who you're building it for. But if you're a bit more mature, you can say, well, that's our customers and this is what they need. So
Mm.
you can be very clear what game you're in.
Yep.
Mm.
And I think even if you don't know what game you're in or you're still very emergent, you can use the rapid prototyping. You can use rapid, agents to help you build rough MVPs or minimal viable products and get them into the hands of your users to help inform what your North Star could be or should be. So there
Mm.
is a little bit, it was too cost prohibitive or time prohibitive to actually do this in the past, but you can really experiment rapidly now to help what are good measures? What are the signals that you want to actually start incorporating into your North Star?
Yeah, I don't want to go mad deep into it, or but I kind of feel like in my head, as time progresses and this evolves, and you mentioned like the singularity. I kind of feel like the having this shape and the North Star and this ability to kind of observe an instrument and even observe and instrument your business model, your how this thing works is probably going to be the only way you can control it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to put this thing in upfront. And then even when I'm thinking about now how we would leverage something like North Star that we haven't leveraged it in the past, it's more around you're now kind of us as engineers and architects and software people. It's more philosophical than it's ever been. You know, like a lot of the questions we're asking ourselves are philosophical ones, and the only way to answer them is through, you know, well, how do we measure success? Like, how do we connect
Yeah,
what we're doing to actual
Yep.
outputs and success? You know, because because I think that's something you can lose sight of reasonably quick and
yeah,
get yourself in a lot of
Oh, yeah.
bother if you don't have that sort of structure and control in
Yep.
yeah.
place.
I think it was Charlie Majors, I think last
Yep.
week. Um, um, she pretty much go out and says like AI has changed everything except observability. It's still exactly the same. You still need to figure out what you're observing and how to do it, you know? And that probably leads to the leading and lagging metrics. One of the hard things about this framework in the past was that your leading metrics are things that you can change and see right away, but your lagging metric is something you may not see for like maybe 6 months or maybe a year. It could be like overall sales, you know, or as opposed to maybe screen load time. Could be a good lead, but overall sales might be like a lag. Um, I still think that is relevant, but you can probably build a better kind of funnel of those metrics now
Yep.
with good observability, and you can probably try and, you know, thread them all together.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things we always, when we talk about doing North Stars with teams, well, how are you actually going to measure this? How are you going to instrument your system to give you telemetry or actual data on, are you on track for this metric or not? And I think
Mm,
with the speed of, iteration now, and if you bake in these standards into your the systems that are the solutions are being developed with, you can have observability as a first class concern that's woven into everything that you deliver into production. So you're getting
yes.
much better signals, you're getting much better observability and telemetry. So that you're much better informed about actually did that experiment succeed or not? Am I trending towards the right metric? Oh, I need to
Mm,
pivot here to a different metric. So you can in the past, it would have been hard to instrument all your systems. You have to have a lot of engineering time, a lot of effort
mm.
to build in the hotel stuff or whatever. Now you can just specify that you want that in your solutions, and then you get all the telemetry built in, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
think
even with the models, you can even say like, you know, I'm trying to figure out a metric. What metric can I use for this problem? And it'll give you a whole bunch of suggestions, and
Yep.
you can pick the one. Because sometimes it's hard to think up the metric. You kind of know what behavior you want, but you're not quite sure what a good metric is. Um,
well, yeah, it's kind of like the way I'm thinking of this now is you even think about it like, you know, people are kind of wrestling with the role of software engineering and, you know, the changing kind of responsibilities of the different roles. But it's almost like, you know, you're almost being forced into that systems engineering kind of
mm,
mindset,
Yep.
right? And the only way to kind of model this, I mean, you think about like this is a dimension of the system itself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know, measuring productivity, the business success of it. So I think this is definitely one of these sort of essential skills, being able to
yeah,
kind of
big
model
time.
the system via
Yep.
something like a North Star all
It's
the way
funny
across.
actually because I was a couple of weeks ago I was thinking of the term systems engineer. I remember from years ago, so I started Googling it, and NASA still use system engineers.
Yeah.
And system engineers basically, you know, they'll put like they'll put a probe in space or put a buggy in Mars or something, and it's like they have to do everything, think of the whole thing, and it's like no, you solve that whole problem, like
Yeah.
software and hardware and whatever else. Like so, it's they own the whole problem. Um, but
Yeah.
I think the whole um the North Star and clarity of purpose with AI, I think it puts massive pressure on the PMs.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean, Melissa Perry has been talking about this for a good 10 years, the build trap. You know, are you building features or are you actually solving problems for your customer?
Yep.
Because, you know,
Yep.
we can build much faster. Well, you can build differently now. You can get the outcomes faster,
Yep.
but are they the right outcomes?
Yeah, I do think there's increasing back pressure on decision making and making sure that you actually are building the right things for the right reasons. And like the
Mm,
fact of like Wardley mapping as well around do you understand your users? Do you understand what they need? Is the thing that you've got your agent swarm working on actually going to meet any of those needs? Right. These are pretty fundamental questions, but the speed that we're able now to ship these features into production and get those sort of outcomes, the team are increasingly asking, well, what's next? We've done that thing. okay, it's in production now. What's the next thing? What's the next need we should be meeting? What's the next metric we should be trying
Mm,
to chase after? So that flywheel is turning pretty rapidly, right? So you're
mm,
already into the elite doors scores. You're already deploying every day or every hour, right? So there's increasing back pressure on product, product management, leadership around decision making and strategic decision making because the teams are churning through the work faster
mm.
than they've ever done. So it's an interesting dynamic, and I think
Yeah.
they need to use the AI tools and capabilities to help them see further down the road.
And then
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier in the call as well, Mark, like just drowning users and feature change. You
Yes.
know, you do need other strategies there, right? For bringing people along and including
Go to
team.
market. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's a natural speed limit to what an organization can absorb, and
Mm.
And
it'll take
even
a
like
while for that to grow to be
yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
And even there's a funnel. I mean, you can even see with the likes of Claude Code, the amount of features they're shipping at the minute. It's insane. Every 2 days there's something new. It's hard to keep up with it, like, but it's great.
Mm.
Um, another PM, Marty Kagan, talked about he talks about the top of the funnel. When your CEO makes a decision, we need X in the market. How long does it take to drip down to the dev teams? And I mean, you know, that time could be 18 months back in the olden days,
Mm.
So I mean, there's two problems with that. It needs to be relatively fast. So it needs to go through all the layers of prioritization and stuff. It also needs to be right because you can't have your CEO flip-flopping. So they
Yep.
actually want something different because, that you could say even that time will let the idea kind of normalize and be a proper strategy. So
Yeah.
it's a massive organizational challenge.
And I
I'd
do
say it's probably a bit easier for smaller orgs, but for larger orgs,
yeah.
it's insane.
And I do think we're going to have to give engineering teams much more product responsibility and much more autonomy to make these impactful decisions in the near real time,
Mm,
because they can go so fast. So the teams really become product engineering teams and deliver product value with a fair amount of
mm,
autonomy because they're going so fast. You don't want to be slowing them down, not unnecessarily.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fascinating topic now. I think it's really going to turn that stuff on its head. Um, Well, the big thing is not to get too deep into it, like, but the whole product management, the North Star, that whole as work comes in, it does feel like that's going to radically transform.
Yep.
The old
Yeah.
ways of doing it, like, are just not going to stand up anymore.
No.
Yeah.
But some of the thinking, I think, is going to retain.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see like a scenario where I think the important thing is obviously have a decent North Star. And then
Yeah.
you've always got to be able to you need good decision makers in terms of are we making good progress towards our North Star and is what we're doing actually on track or is it not? I think that stuff you still got to be good at it, and then you still need people to make tough decisions from time to time. So maybe you could be looking at like lead time towards those sorts of things and reducing them and kind of being a wee bit more competitive in
Mm.
that regard, and good teams will set themselves up
Yep.
in that sort of way, right?
It's all that mission, purpose-driven leadership. Like, what's the
Yeah.
mission? Oh, we've six of them. Right.
But I still feel like you're always going to have like I still struggle with some of these like say these large distributed systems where you've got to modernize them, you've got to take data from A to B and transform it to C and D and E.
Mm.
Like those are still reasonably tricky engineering efforts, and I still think you need plenty of human expertise
Oh
in the
yeah.
look. So I still feel like there's a way for us to go as an industry, but at this point in time, I think you've got a window here to get this sort of thing in shape.
Yep.
Uh,
Mm.
um, we'll see.
Good stuff. That's the crack then. Sure, leave it at that. North Star is still very important.
Oh
You should
yeah.
give us a click on the serverlessage.com or on YouTube or LinkedIn. Good to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.